Okay, it's part 2 on talking to the cops after your shooting. What's going to happen? Okay, so let's say you're carrying a gun, you get in a shooting. Okay, what you don't want to say is, I watched Rick's video and Rick said to do this. Don't be dragging me into your shit. No, you can say, I've studied, I've learned, I've read. You can articulate all that, but I wouldn't articulate that same. Remember, when I talked about fight or flight, when you're in a shooting, that heart rate goes up, you lose hearing, you're focused, you're nervous, you've got all this adrenaline, you've got all these things going on, and now you're trying to give a statement that's going to be used against you later. And give one statement to one person. Don't be repeating it. A good trick by cops is to have multiple cops interview you, and it's impossible to give the exact same statement, and then later the prosecutor is going to say, well, you told this to one cop and you told this to that cop. Which one's the truth? Well, you changed your story because in this version you told this, and in this version we told you this. Now, as a prosecutor, if they get a good statement, I've been told a lot of times, I want to go get more information from a suspect because it wasn't clear on, and the prosecutor's like, no, don't go talk to him again. Because he might change some of the good stuff that I have to use against him, and if he retracts it, then I can't use it, or I'll have to give that to the defense, and then that'll help his case. But remember, prosecutors are all about winning. I don't care what they say. They're lawyers. They're lower than stinking used car salesmen. They are about winning and egos and beating the other guy at the other table. It has nothing to do with justice or legal. Now, I'm sure there's some good ones out there, but the majority of them, it's all about winning. It's all about my case. It's all about my reputation. You know, every politician that ever runs for office who was a lawyer says, I have this percentage of convictions. And it's always a 90% conviction rate, 95. Well, that just means you're lying, you're doing anything to win. I mean, it's only natural in our system that 10 guilty people go free to ensure one innocent person does not go to jail. And that's lost. That's the way our system was set up. And now it's not like that. Now it doesn't matter. We're letting innocent people out all the time. Because you have overzealous prosecutors, you have politicians who want convictions, who don't want to lose cases, who will, you know, not give you a promotion, who will move you to a crappy case if you lose a case. So you have all this outside pressure, so the prosecutor's like, I want to win at all costs. And who suffers? The poor innocent person that goes to prison. And, you know, I mean, unfortunately it goes on more than it should, but if you research it, you're going to find a lot of places that do that. So realize whatever you say is going to be used against you. So less is more, say less, say what was happening, make sure you get in key phrases that's in your penal code for your jurisdiction. And almost all of them is going to be fearful. Why were you fearful? You know, was it at night? I can't see good at night. I lost my glasses. My contact came out. I've got a bad back. All those things justify force. A fat, out-of-shape cop with back problems that just came off disability can shoot a person quicker than a 21-year-old stud that just got out of the academy. Why? Because he can say, I could lose my gun quicker. I can't retain my gun as quick. I don't have as much strength in my hand because of my back. I can't fight this guy because if I fight, my back will get hurt and I'll lose. Well, the 21-year-old that's in great shape can't say that. He's Mr. Stud, macho, just got out of the academy doing 100 push-ups. He can't. That's the difference. A 90-pound female cop can shoot somebody a whole lot quicker than a 6'4" male cop. Well, Rick, that's sexist. It is sexist. And there's all kind of sexist crap out there. There's double standards for everything. And the people that want to run around and say it's fair and it's equal, well, they're just living in la la land with their head buried in the sand. It ain't equal. If you're a woman, you can justify force more easily than a man. If you're an older man with injuries, you can justify force more than a bodybuilding woman in great shape who just won the He-Man male wrestling championship and the only female. She's going to have a harder time justifying force than an old dude with medical issues. So all these things come into play. You don't have to justify all that night. You have to justify that you were scared, you're nervous, you're not thinking clearly, you were just in a critical high-risk situation, you might be suffering from post-traumatic stress, I'm not thinking clearly, I don't want to say that. I would like to talk to an attorney or consult with an attorney before giving a statement. the cop's going to do one of two things. He's either going to write that down and move on, or he's going to go, you don't have that choice, you need to give me a statement. At that point, it becomes a coerced statement. You're ordered to do it. If you don't do it, you could be subject to detention, arrest, or going to jail, and you can justify that. So any statement you give then, if you say the wrong thing, it's going to be a lot easier to get it what's called suppressed or not used against you. So that's why it's important to use these phrases. And asking for a lawyer or for counsel is reasonable. You should do that. Because a lawyer is going to, you know what a lawyer is going to do? Don't say anything. I ain't never had a lawyer show up and go, let's go talk to the cops. It just doesn't happen. Even when cops get lawyers, if they come and run an internal investigation on us and we get a representative, first thing they say, don't talk to them. That's just what lawyers do. So, I mean, if every lawyer is going to tell you that when you ask for a lawyer, it's reasonable to say that I know he would tell me not to talk. So everything inside me says I shouldn't talk right now until I consult with the counsel, but if I have to give a statement, I will. I don't want to be uncooperative. And then once the cop or a lawyer or the DA or one of the representatives comes over and says, you need to give us a statement because we need to move on, then the burden shifts to them on what they ask. What happens is when a person says, I want an attorney, it's like a trigger. And it says, you know what, government can no longer ask this person incriminating questions or try to elicit information that can be used against them in a court later. As soon as somebody says, I want a lawyer, the burden shifts to the government, the cop, the DA, whoever's working, any agent of the government, that says, now I have to make sure that if I ask her anything incriminating, I know I'm going to lose it, and I know I'm going to be violating her right to counsel. Because once a person asks for counsel, I'm supposed to stop questioning. However, there's exceptions. I'll be able to say, well, there was an exigency. I had a guy running around with a gun. I needed, Your Honor, the reason why I didn't let her stop talking is because there was a person out there with a gun. I needed to find this person. So I need a description, blah, 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 blah. And the judge will go, that's reasonable. You forced her to talk. You're okay. But then when I'm talking about which way did he go and what he'd look like and how tall was he and what kind of car he's driving, and I go, did you really need to shoot him? And then she goes, well, maybe not. Oh, now we got it. Now I moved and the burden's on me to go, you know what? The judge is going to say, that didn't have anything to do with catching that guy. You switched from exigency of catching a fleeing suspect to back to incriminating statement when you said, did you really have to shoot that person? And there's little things like that where people have used religion, where they've used their parents, where they've used in most situations, where even threaten to take your kid. I mean, I've been chasing a guy and I've told a woman, look, your kids are in danger and I'm going to put them in protective custody. This guy's out here, he's cutting up people, he's on the run, he knows he's going to prison for the rest of his life, he's got nothing to lose. If he comes back here and we have to come in with guns, you're putting your kids in danger, unless you tell him where he's at, I want to take kids in protective custody. And then later, the defense was trying to use that against me, saying, hey, you can't threaten my client to get information. I go, well, not only can I, but I did. And you know, it depends on the judge. Some judges will say, no, you can't use the kids. Other judges will say, you know what, that was reasonable, and I think the kids were in danger. So it all comes back to articulating what you're doing when you're doing it. But when a cop starts talking to you about you going to jail or you possibly, I mean, Zimmerman's shoot, first thing I heard, I was like, it's justified. I mean, I don't know who kept up with Zimmerman or whatever, and there's going to be somebody here that's going to say, oh, you're piggy or you're whatever. I don't care what you say. They had a tape of a home security system where Tyrone came up and started punching him unprovoked with no reason. Now people, he got out of the car and he shouldn't have followed it. You know what? None of that justifies getting your ass whipped. He did not produce a gun. He didn't threaten a guy. He didn't try to challenge a guy. He was merely trying to keep an eye on the guy, and the guy came back and attacked him, and he had a right to defend himself, and he shot him. And Tyrone picked a fight to do with a gun. He brought fists to a gunfight, and he lost. As far as I'm concerned, he should have lost. Tough luck. You want to unsubscribe and hate me or say I'm a racist or whatever, knock yourself out. But you know what? A guy had a right to defend himself. And if you look at the totality of that situation, you had one guy that wasn't out looking for kicks on Saturday night. You had Zimmerman, who was a neighborhood watch guy who was out there kind of looking out for his community. There had been break-ins in the community. He saw a guy with a hoodie over his head trying to conceal his face. That's common. Any cop would have stopped him. Any cop that would have saw Tyrone jumping from underneath houses and not walking on the sidewalk, and he was running from house to house looking in windows, or with the ability to look in windows with a hoodie on, would have stopped him. Now you can get all the other crap about, well, it was raining and he was just trying to stay dry, and I don't want to hear all that BS. He was up to no good. He shouldn't have been where he was, and Zimmerman was following him, and he was doing what he should have done as a good citizen, protecting his neighborhood, and Tyrone came back and hit him in the head, and he got beat up. Tough luck. I think I'm at 15 minutes here. End up on some ACLU freaking trying to... This guy's trying to... Okay, I'm at 11 minutes. So anyway, Zimmerman, I don't know what he said on the scene. It sounded like from the reports that Zimmerman cooperated. He gave a statement. He gave several statements. His statements were consistent, and they didn't change. Lucky for him. Lucky for him. I mean, the cops didn't even arrest him and said, look, it makes sense. The guy had a right to defend himself. He's bleeding. He's stitched. He's getting his ass whipped. I mean, he was in fear of his life. And because you have a gun, that escalates the fear that if I get knocked out, I can't retain this gun, and the gun can be used to kill me. That makes your level of fear even higher. I mean, if you're saying I didn't have a gun, I was going to get knocked out, okay, I'm scared, but you're not going to use deadly force, so you get knocked out and you get your ass beat or raped or whatever while you're knocked out. But if you have a gun, now you can say, look, if I went out, this guy could take this gun and kill me or kill someone else. I could not let myself get blacked out. I can't let myself go out to where I can't retain my gun. I don't want my gun used in a crime. I don't want it used against me, and I don't want it used against someone else. So at that point where I was blacking out, I thought I had to use my gun to save myself. Totally justified force. Totally shouldn't have been charged. It became a political charging. I mean, I could talk about this case forever. There's been other cases that were charged the same way, and that were, you know, the person was acquitted, and it was a big waste of taxpayer money. But you know what? Everybody's got to appease everybody, and you know, Obama's president, and if you disagree with him, somehow it's because he's black. Look, it's not because he's black. It's because he's a freaking idiot. That's why I don't like him. So, be careful what you say. Limit what you say. If you can get in there and say that I would like to consult with an attorney before I give any statement, and get that on the record, that protects you, that anything else you say after that shouldn't be used against you and will probably be suppressed and not be allowed. Because as soon as you say you want an attorney, they should stop questioning, unless they want to question for exigent circumstances to protect life, fleeing suspect, there's a weapon uncharged, etc. They can't continue to investigate you as a suspect once you ask for an attorney. They're supposed to stop until you get an attorney. And then we're never going to talk to you again, and cops know that. Because once you get an attorney, the first thing the attorney says, don't talk to the cops. Why give them information? It's your right. The government has all the money and all the cops and all the power and all the authority to make their case against you. They do not need you, and that's why the founders put that in there. They do not need your help to convict you. The government, if they're doing their job, they should be able to convict you without you saying a word. So why should you say a word? Because it's just going to be used against you. It's going to be twisted. It's going to be a conflicting statement. They're going to say, oh, he told us this, and when we tried to clarify, he wouldn't tell us anymore. Or he told us this, and when we wanted to ask this, we couldn't because he wanted an attorney. And so, I mean, it's going to be bad. It's going to be used against you. My best advice is say keep your mouth shut. Give minimal. As soon as you say anything, try to get in there that you would like to talk to an attorney. You would feel more comfortable if you could consult with an attorney before answering any questions. You don't feel comfortable. You'd rather not talk right now till you talk to an attorney. Any of those phrases will trigger that switch that any statement they take after that can only be used in limited ways. And one of the limited ways it can't be used is used against you to try and get a conviction or try to mix your story up or try to, you know, convince someone else that, oh, this was a big misunderstanding, you know, kind of like the news media with Zimmerman put on there because he said the guy was black because the dispatcher asked him, what color he was, and then they tried to make it a racist because they cut it out because he made a statement and it was on a recording. And if you call 911, be aware that that's recorded. That's a statement. Keep your statement quick. Keep it small. You're still talking to the government. It can be used against you. Don't think that just because you call 911, you're not talking to the cops. You are. It's being used against you. It's recorded. They're all government agents. They're all agents of the government. Therefore, anything you say to any of them can be used against you. All right? We'll end that there. Hope that helps.